Yo, what's going on, everybody? Glad to see everybody here for another episode of Secret of the Unknown. Uh, just decided I'd take it outside for this beautiful day, and the weather's nice, so I thought I'd get some fresh air and just do the episode outside. So hopefully you guys will. Sorry for being outside, but before we go ahead and just jump into the episode, I just want to say that thank you to everybody who's been supporting the channel, the podcast, and thank you to all the longtime supporters that have been following the channel. Um, to the new people who have just recently jumped onto the station, actually the podcast, on platforms on Facebook, YouTube, X, um, and on Spotify. I appreciate you all. Thank you guys for coming along, supporting the group. Uh, and I just want to say that to everybody who's new here, I just want to put out again that anything that I discuss on here and that I talk about, the reason why I discuss what I'm discussing a lot of the times is to put the information out there. I'm not going to out there and telling you that you have to believe it. I'm not telling you that you have to take my word for everything. I want you to do your own diligence. Go out there, do your own research, look these things up, because knowledge is power and it's key. And if we don't look things up, if we don't research for ourselves, I'm no better than somebody who's sitting in a church pew that is just listening day in, day out, every Sunday, every Monday, every Wednesday, every time they go in there and they just take what somebody is telling verbatim and just take that as the God's honest truth. There's nothing else to it. Everything is just a simple cut and dry. You're not listening to what the standard is that's coming from this person's mouth, and it's not from God. And believe me, like I said, I've been there, I've done it. I grew up in the church, I was raised by pastors, but there was always something that was inkling in me that was just off, and it didn't seem right. And I always questioned everything since I was a child. Why this? Why were there people here before Adam and God created Adam and Eve and they were the first? Did he not create these other people? And if he did, why were they destroyed? Why would he kill them off? I mean, I'm a child reading this stuff in the Bible, and I'm thinking, what is going on? And being baptized Catholic, going to become like, God says don't worship any other idols, but they're sitting there bowing down, and they're worshiping statues and this person who's God's, Jesus' mother. And it's like, this does not make sense. Like, we're contradicting ourselves here. So for me, this is a personal journey that I have been on, seeking the truth, seeking the knowledge, seeking the understanding that is outside of that normal box that I was raised on. And all I'm doing is pushing out the information. I'd like people to just look at it, because I've said it plenty of times on this podcast. Once you see the reality of what is real, the true narrative of what is going on, you will never be the same again, because you are going to question everything. And questioning everything is good, not bad. It's not bad. We've been taught to just go with the flow, listen to what we're telling you. Do not question the narrative. Just shut your mouth, get up in the morning, go to church, go to work, believe in this one religion, whatever it may be, believe in this one ethic, whatever it is, believe in this one reality, whatever it is that, and just don't question anything outside of that. And I challenge anybody to please break free of those restraints that have been placed on your mind, your body, your soul, and your spirit. Just realize that there is a lot more to what and who we are as human beings than what we have been told. And if you have been questioned, or if you have ever had thoughts, there's got to be more to what is being said, then welcome. And like I said, I urge you to do just that and question those narratives. So with that, I'm going to jump into the intro, and I'll see you guys in a few. Stay tuned. All right. So hopefully that intro worked. I don't know what's going on with my network. It seems like every time I've been trying to start um, these podcasts and stuff, the video's been glitching. The network will go down, disconnect me off the server, the platform that I have to reconnect. So if you get lost or the connection gets dropped, uh, I will get back on. So I'm not going to allow it to hinder me from doing this podcast that I never have. But anyway, like I said, welcome to the podcast. As a matter of fact, let me see. Is this thing connected to my servers? Let's see. That's streaming on YouTube, streaming on Facebook, streaming on X. Yeah, everything is good. Uh, for the first time listeners, I'm going to go ahead and put it on my regular channel on Facebook. So if you're trying to watch it, you can't just go on there and uh, we'll try and get it going. All right. So as I said before, this episode is going to be on a topic that to me has always fascinated. It's always been something that intrigued me, and it wasn't just because of morbidity. I wasn't always like, "Ooh, death is like so cool." It's just something to be worshipped. But it was always something for me that was just a question of, is it something to be scared of? Something to fear? Is it something that I should worry about? Because I never had that inkling of, if I die, oh my God, I'm scared. You know, uh, it was always a curious notion for me of, why am I supposed to be scared? Yeah, why should I be scared? And uh, I've said it before on uh, previous podcasts where I've always questioned that narrative. And I remember being 8 years old and the German, my father was in the military. I always had that feeling of like, I was scared to die. Uh, and I remember telling my mother, Mom, I don't know what brought this on. I think it was just something to do with me questioning it internally. Um, and I remember telling her, I'm going to die young. And she was like, "Nah, you're grow up to be an old man. What? Don't say things like that. It's nothing. Don't joke around with that. You're gonna be fine." I was just like, I'm not scared to die. It's okay if I do. you know. And I would just remember it being, you know, as I said, one of those things where I was just like, I wasn't worried about it, and I just remember, telling uh, my mom that if it happens, I'm okay with that. It's not anything that I'm being afraid of. I am, you know, I'm okay with it. And uh, I remember, just thinking uh, because I would see a lot of things as far as uh, uh, astral projection and having out of body experiences when I would get into the sleep or I would leave my body. Uh, and being a child and experiencing this, to me, I just was like, I'm just being Superman. This is just, I'm flying around. I could see all my friends outside. See what people. I could see my mom cooking in the kitchen, and I would like go around her, and like, ooh, and around her. And it was just weird, but it was like there would be a time I would be like in this place where I was in this dark, uh, but it was like I was in my house, but it wasn't the same. It was like empty. And I remember seeing, I can't picture this face or this thing, this person very clearly, but I know it scared the shit out of me. And I mean, it literally scared me that I would be screaming, crying so bad, fearing for my life that my mom, like as soon as I zoned back into waking up, my mom and dad were like shaking like vigorously, like, "What's wrong with you?" They were calling me by my name, and they were like, wake up, what's wrong with you?" I was just like, "Huh?" I would just go back to sleep like nothing was going on. Um, and the moment that it really hit home for me was when I seen the movie Insidious, and I just was like, "That's it. That's exactly what I was seeing. That's exactly what I was talking about." And it reminded me when uh, she was saying, that he has gone, been out of his body too long. He's gone into the further meaning that my spirit has gone past the point of me being able. It would take longer for me to find my way back to me. Um, and Dolores Cannon talks about this in her past life regression therapy sessions. She talks about she has talked to people in regression therapy sessions, and they leave their body. They see this strand, this gold light link that is connected to them, and the people that are around them in the afterlife, the people that have passed on, the spirits that are in this other realm. Uh, she says that they look at them and they could tell something's off because they notice that they're still connected to their cord, and they're like, "You shouldn't be here. Like, why are you here? Like, what are you doing?" And it's just that the spirits, when they pass through this, uh, I don't want to say death or near death, it's a near death experience, that they are not dead. They are still connected to this earthly life, and they go to this further or go into that other realm of, of life after death, and whether you want to call it limbo, want to call it the middle plane, whatever is uh, in your culture, your religion, this place is a place where, as like I said, as Dolores Cannon calls it, there are these halls of record. There are these places where you go to, that those who are the keepers of the knowledge and who are there to welcome you after life. If you're dead, they know you're dead because they can tell that your cord has been cut, because your life force is pretty much is not connected to the body, and they can see that. So when you pass, what she says is that they bring you to this place and they discuss with you what has happened. And I'm jumping ahead on this and I'm getting far ahead, but uh, we're going to get into that part later. I just wanted to put that out there just to let you know what we're talking about. But people that have died, had the near death experience, speak of being able to see themselves outside of their body, and they leave this plane, they go up into the sky and they go towards this light, um, and they find themselves in this beautiful place, surrounded by people that they love, or in a place of total comfort. Other times you have people who say that they find themselves in this dark realm. It just feels alone and empty and just feels so scared. And these people say they call it demons, or they call it hell, because it's the absence of God. Uh, that is not with you because you trans descended into the lower realm. Excuse me, I just got that. Um, and they feel disconnected from that life source, or this God energy, or the God that they've all known of or were raised on, thinking, oh, it's God of the Bible. Um, and they say that there's these different realities of, uh, well, Dolores Cannon talks about it in her books, and she says that, if you've been raised on this ideology, you've been raised on this thought, then when you die and you pass on, that becomes your reality. That is what happens to you. If you've been raised to think that you're a good person and you believe this stuff and you're going to go to heaven, then when you die and you pass on into that life, it's kind of like that scenario that you built for yourself your whole life becomes your after reality, because it's like welcoming into that, so that way you're not like, fuck, everything I knew was bullshit. It's like transferring over that same thought process into the afterlife, pretty much is what she says. And for those people who believe in the reincarnation theory, that is what happened. And those people who don't believe in that, these, I want to say, uh, how does she put it? These record keepers, or these people who welcome you into the afterlife, um, the people that have had this happen, what they say is that, and like I said, again, I'm getting ahead into the subject itself, but I just want to say that how did we become as human, and human nature to fear something that for thousands of years was revered in cultures all around the world as a just another part of life. It was just taking the step of, you've completed your tasks here on earth. It is your time to go. It's your time to go, and you pass on. You go into the next life, and you choose to progress in that life and not come back and resolve issues in this realm that you either had, you dealt with, that you did not finish, or you felt, well, I screwed that up. I got to make that right, and I got to try this journey again. Um, how did we go from it being something of being a Viking rite of passage you see in Nordic cultures, where it was a blessing, it was a desire that let me go die, let me go fight, let me pass on and be with my family, let me live amongst my ancestors and be with them as a right of my birthright, as being a part of this culture and this family, to transcend this life and move on into the next. Because it was like, yes, it's like, anybody who's gone to church, or says, I've run that race, I've fought the good fight, I've done all I wanted to do and accomplished the things that I wanted to in life, that I am ready to face that after. I'm ready to go and take that next step and go into that next transition. Um, but it seems like we've come so far from that we've come away from that to it being a feeling of fear. Um, you better have your shit together. You better be set right in your ways. If you don't, then you are going to face the tormenting hell fires of eternity, and your soul is going to be damned forever, to these flames. And it seems like, if we don't bow down, if we do not do what we have to do, which means bend the knee and be subservient to a deity of some sort, then we face the repercussions of becoming damned forever. Now, this only happened once people started getting adopted into this new ideology, this uh, uh, monotheical thought process of having one deity. Because before that, cultures around the world saw it as a transition from being alive to shedding this mortal flesh, like changing a suit and stepping into through that veil of darkness, through the veil of life and death. Because as we know that around us, everything is connected. You live, or you're born, you live, you die. And this, like, you live this life, and I believe this wholeheartedly myself, of, you know, um, we are born into this world to learn a lesson, to learn something, to experience life as God in the flesh, or the eternal um, entity in the flesh, to experience this life, because we know that whatever this deity that is in all things throughout this universe is within each and every one of us. And we are a part of that universe, experiencing this realm, this reality, to gather information, to know what it's like to be happy, to know what it's like to be sad, to know what it's like to love, to know what it's like to hate, to know what it's like to be in pain, sorrow, and grief, to experience these emotions that we could not otherwise experience unless we lived it and we go through it, and it alters us. I don't care what anybody says. If you go through something that changes you for better or for worse, it's an experience that you know is going to be with you forever. Now, throughout the course of your life, do you allow these experiences to make you who you are, or do you allow them to break you for good or for bad? And that is what a lot of ancient cultures were going through, is that they were saying the life that we live, choices that we make on a day-to-day basis, the things that we allow to affect us mentally and physically, shape and write our destiny. Now, what we build in this life, the destiny that we shape and we choose in this life, determines how our afterlife will be. It determines what we do if we eat, if we experience the good race, if we fight the good fight and we put the best foot forward and say, I did everything I could within my being to do what I had to do to make my life and learn things that I needed to learn in order to be better at the time of my death. Say, I'm okay with leaving. I can do this. Then we can enjoy those fruits of our labor in that afterlife. Now, if a person steps out of this mortal flesh and experiences death in a tragic way where they did not get a chance to, let's say, find uh, the things that they needed to learn in this life, then what throughout different cultures it states different things, but it pretty much says this: the karmic representation of our life in the afterlife is what we will experience. Now, a lot of times people say, well, it's, through these hypno regression therapy sessions, past life regression therapy sessions that people talk about, it says like you go to it's pretty much like a counselor. They bring you in, and people have said that they talk to you about, you, you're gone, um, your life has ended. We want to show you that you have not finished out your contract, your life contract, like, before you're born and you come into this world of existence that we know now. You are we are all spirit, first and foremost. This body that we see, this person that's talking out of my mouth right now, me, this words that are coming, you can hear it. This is this flesh. But the person that's inside of here is not Raul, because Raul is who you've seen. The person who is in here, if I stop talking and I talk, and I can still hear myself. So who is this that's inside of here? That is the spirit. That is the conscious man, the consciousness. A lot of people say, oh, well, that's just speaking about because, your brain is going and functioning because of all the electrical neurons. Bullshit. There is more to who we are than what we see on this plane. The consciousness, the awake man, the awake woman, the awake entity that is within each and every one of us, that essence of the universe that was breathed life, it was placed in each one of us, is us. Because when this entity, this person that you see passes and is gone, that's just the physical nature that you're seeing that is gone. The true self, the true entity, the one being, the person that is inside of this flesh suit, leads and progresses to that afterlife. We descend this mortal life. That's why, and I'm going to go biblical on for those people that want to base everything on that. When Jesus says, let go, put everything aside, drop what you do, follow me. This earth, that the things that you see in front of you, they don't mean anything. It's not real. It doesn't mean anything. Because when you die, the flesh dies. The flesh becomes the way of flesh. It's gone. But the spirit man lives forever. That is what you need to take care of. That is what you should be focusing on. That is what you need to build. That is what you should be strengthening and you should be getting focused on. Because if you don't take care of that inner man, that inner, that, that being, the you, the true you, if you don't feed it, when this body dies, what have you done to progress yourself to be able to bear the fruits of your afterlife, to be able to transcend and leave this plane and say, I've run that good race. Look at the life that I lived, the people that I helped, the things that I did to better somebody else, the things that I've done to progress and give knowledge to, and to be able to share love, decency, kindness, respect to other people, to the things that really matter, that are going to be able to bear fruit for you inside. That is what they were talking about. Is that he was saying, listen, this, everything that you see, this is all an illusion. You may think it's real. It may seem real because you're here now. But when you go, when you are gone, the reality of what you are and who you are is going to show itself. So that is what these guardians talk to the people who have passed on. They say, okay, listen, we are going to let you see your life's progression through what it looks like a film. And what Dolores Cannon talks about is you stand there and it's like a movie from the time you were born till the time you die. And what she says, it's like you're not seeing it through your eyes, you see it through your eyes, but you also see it through the other person's eyes. You see what you say and how it affected them, the things that you did and how it affects those people, the decisions that you made and how it affects others. And that is the suffering. That is the pain that you will, and I, all of us, will have to deal with once we leave this plane of existence, because it's not just a thing of, oh God, I don't have you in my life anymore and I'm going to burn in hell. The true hell is seeing the torment and the suffering and the pain of what we have done in this life to cause not only to ourselves, but to others around us, and the damning things that we have done that affected them. And we sit there and we go, oh shit, I really fucked this life up. I really screwed it up. I got to get my stuff together. I got to try and make it right. Now they will sit. Now what she says is this, and this is not just her. This is throughout other cultures. You know, you've got the Hindu culture. You've got the Asian cultures in Asia. You've got the South American culture that talk of uh, the life after death and transcending, going into the underworld. Um, and you have cultures that talk about, and my biggest one that I love to death that really hit for me was the Egyptian cultures, and them talking about death is only the beginning. It is just a thinning of the veil between this world and the next. And that when we transcend it, it should not be a thing of something to fear, but something to be revered. It is something to be looking forward to, because we are truly becoming who we are inside. We are revealing, we will see us. We will see what we are, because this mortal flesh is going to go the way of all things. It's going to just turn back to dust. Um, so what it is, you know, and what they say is that when we pass on from this life, that they tell us that we are all contracted to a contract, a binding life, a soul contract. And we pick the people that we want to be in the life with. We pick the people that we want to have this experience to better it. And that's why you see in movies, or you hear in themes of, I will find you in this life or the next. Whatever it takes for me to make it better, I will find you. I will come back and I will make this right. I am sorry for the things that I've done, and I will correct it. That's why you see in a lot of movies that they talk about this analogy of transcending time, transcending dimensions to find the people that they are trying to work with, and make things right for, because in the afterlife, that is pretty much what happens. And um, it's crazy because, like I said, Dolores Cannon, when she's talking to these people, you have people that are like, okay, well, you have to come back and experience life in different forms. You've got people who are murderers, and a person asks, well, if a person comes back, do they come back as um, the victim? And she says, I've experienced where people have told me not only do they have that happen, yes, that happens, but they come back where they are uh, the person who experiences that torment that they caused. So, like the person's mother, or the person's father, or the person's sister or brother, and it causes them to see what caused the pain that they've caused other people, and things like that. You switch the roles until you get it right. And it's like she says, a lot of people who find themselves repeating this torment. You have these poor souls who are in prisons, and are these people who cannot get their crap together because they are making the same choices that they chose to do continually, and they choose to not change, and they wonder why they are experiencing what they are experiencing. It's because they don't want to learn. They don't want to progress their soul to end up changing what is happening to them. So they see this repeatedness of this pain and sorrow, and they're like, man, why do I keep finding myself like this? Because they don't want to change. They have to try and change whatever was going on in their childhood, whatever was going on in their youth and their adulthood, to better progress themselves for the afterlife. And she says that is just one aspect of it, and a man who has caused suffering to people, he will come back as a woman, or as a female, to better understand how the pain that they're causing females in their life, or vice versa. Women will be men. And she says, that's why you get a lot of people who are in this state of, I feel like I'm in the wrong body, because they come back in this life, and they can't see themselves being in a female body. So they feel like they have to change, which is their thing, because it's like they are doing this because they feel like I'm here and I want to change it. But if they do that when they die, they're still going to have to come back and live out and fulfill their contract. Um, and that's just the way it is, because if you don't learn from your mistakes and you continue to progress on them, you're never going to learn, and you're never going to go, oh, I figured my shit out. I'm done with this. I don't want to do this anymore. And they will not allow you to pass that stage of the afterlife to be able to say, I am done. I have learned my lessons. There is nothing more for me to learn. I am okay. I want to stay here with my relatives and my family members that have gone past that journey and learned those things. They will not allow you to do that, because you have not yet passed um, that stage of learning and understanding. You have not fixed your karmic um, issues, your problems, in order to be able to enjoy that afterlife uh, situation, because it's always going to torment. That's always, you're going to stay there in limbo, your entire afterlife, and just deal with that pain. And a lot of people don't want to see it that way. And as I said, I mean, God bless you for having whatever you want to believe in, because that is going to be your reality in the afterlife. And the reason why I was talking about in the beginning of seeing or saying to my mother, it came to fruition later on when I was in the military. Um, and I was 23 years old. I was deployed. Was I scared that I was going to die? Yes, but I knew if it was going to happen, it was going to happen. I couldn't change it. It is what it is. And facing death day in and day out, watching things happen, experiencing and going through things in combat and being in the infantry, and watching my friends get hurt, or friends that I know getting killed, and dying, and surviving that, it altered, it changed me. And it came to full circle when I got back. And I said this before because I mean, this to me is my testimony of why I believe what I believe, is that my grandmother's sister, my aunt, I love her to death. And her and I are really close. And I haven't seen her for a while, but she was going through some old family photos. She was telling me, actually, she told my aunt, she said, "Holy crap, look at this picture. Who do you think this is? Tell me what you think." She said, "Who is this?" She goes, "Who does it look like? Tell me." And she's like, "Holy crap, it looks just like him." And she said, "Yeah, it was one of their family members, their cousin or their brother that died in Normandy. He was 23 years old in combat, and he looked just like me. Damn near, I mean, if you could put us side by side, you would have thought we were fucking twins. That is how crazy it was." And she showed it to me. And I mean, if you could see like the color drain from my face, it was like a lot like seeing myself and going, "That's me. That's me." And it made sense at that moment that I had died in combat. I never got to experience life. I never knew the sensation of finding love. I never knew the sensation of having children. I never knew the sensation of growing old, experiencing grandchildren, experiencing things throughout the life that I had, because I had died when I was 23. And as I said before, I told my mother that when I was 8, I am going to die young. Why would I have said something like that random child saying that? Because I had experienced it and I had seen what was going on. This insight, that spirit that was there before, their my ancestor, my family member who looked just like me, that had died in a situation that I was striving to go to the military. My father was in the military. Everybody told me that I was never going to be able to make it because I became a father at a young age. I dropped out of high school. I was never going to get my high school diploma. I had to work to support my family. But the determination in me was driven so deep. I went back to school. I got my high school diploma. I graduated. I went to the military right after 9/11. And here I am coming full circle, 23 years old, going through uh, a day in, day out, survival, trying to stay alive and make it through this place, and serving my country for 6 years, um, and doing what I was doing. I survived, for a reason. I mean, maybe it was for me to progress and learn these things that I was going through in life, to be able to experience and check that off and say, "Okay, I survived this. Let me learn my life lessons now, move forward." And is life hard? Yes. Is it a struggle day in and day out? Yes. But the choices that I make determine my karmic outcome. Have I made choices that I'm going to want to come back and redo again? Yes. Am I trying to better my children, to better help them with their future karmic decisions? Yes. And I think that is what I am doing now, is being able to help them understand the lessons that I learned growing up, to not go down that path. Because I think in my past life, I did not have that. It was a life learning experience where I was going through life. It was abruptly ended. And now I am going through it, trying to make up for those things that I could not do in my past life. And I think that, for me and so many others who have experienced, um, this, let me see real quick. I'm going to invite everybody. If you want to come on, please do. I'm going to put it in the chat. There it is. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see it. It's only allowing me to do restream talking. Why? I don't know. So allow me to do it on YouTube and Facebook. Let me see if it'll work. Let's see. Uh, shot time. All right, so I'm not sure if it's going to allow me to do it because I can't do it on here. I don't obviously don't have my computer. I'm on my phone. But like I said, if you yourself have experienced this type of life after death or near death experience, um, and I was just talking to my daughter-in-law Bree, and she was sharing with me her life death experience. Um, and it validated everything. And I did not even talk to her at all about what was happening, what was going on. I just mentioned my experience, and she blew me away because I go, dude, look at what I'm fucking talking about tonight on the podcast. Check this out. And she said, what is it? And I showed her, and she said, no way. She was like, put me on there. She was like, I want to be able to, I want to be able to talk about my experience. And like I said, it was just something that I randomly was going to do. I mean, I've talked about it before on the channel. I've never really uh, gone in depth outside of that. Um, and I, I discuss it in my circle about, this experience. And I just think that if people would take a step outside of this narrative that we have all been force fed to swallow to bring us away from this control. It's a control mechanism to bring us farther away from what the true nature of who we are as as human beings and the capabilities of us transcending this life mentally and physically and spiritually. It becomes a shackle because then you get people who become fear driven to say, oh God, I better do this because if I don't, I'm going to burn it out. I'm going to die. I'm never going to find peace in the afterlife. Don't think that way, please. I'm not saying to drop what you think is real to you. All I'm saying is please look at the true nature of who and what we are as human beings and do not be driven to uh, uh, the side of fear. Um, I will say that, as I said before, Dolores Cannon spoke about people that are so set in their ways that they choose to believe that narrative, whatever it is, wholeheartedly, that once they die, that is what they believe is going to happen, that the narrative will transfer over into their afterlife. That is what is going to happen. That is what your decision of, you speak those things, you live that life. Of course, it's going to be your reality. But for so many of us who choose to make that choice of not following that narrative, uh, people say, "Oh, well, you're just falling into the lies of the devil." Well, that's another separate thing of what you believe, as far as what is the devil and what is not the devil, what I believe is the devil, what I believe is the devil, and what is and what isn't. So, as I said, the narrative of me breaking free from that slavery mentality of my mind and looking outside that box is asking yourself, how come we have come so far from what our ancestors derived from to becoming this fear driven, fear based uh, narrative that we all have succumbed to growing up? This narrative of uh, if you do something wrong, it is going to follow you in the afterlife. And if you die in that sin, then you are going to be subjugated to this eternal damnation, whatever it is. I myself believe that uh, death, as the Egyptians claimed, stated that it is a thin veil between this life and the next. And we are at the cusp of experiencing death day in and day out, which is why you see in the Bible that days, no, tomorrow is not promised to anybody. That is where they got that from. We cannot be for certain of what is going to happen from one day to the next, which is why you have to make every day count, which is why you have to look at every day as though it was your last. Does that mean that you have to walk on pins and needles and go, well, I know that today could be my last, so I better live your life. Do so by going out in the narrative and saying, is this going to be something that is going to harm me or progress me? Is this going to be something that is going to determine my life or determine my death in a negative way or in a positive way? Am I doing something that is going to negatively impact somebody else? Or is it going to be something that is going to hinder somebody else's life because of the choices that I make, that is going to stop them and hurt them in their life? And the decisions that you choose to do in your day in, day out life, those are the karmic decisions that we make as human beings. Um, and I believe that if we can break free of the bondage of the mentality that has been placed over each and every one of us mentally, and we can break free of that, a lot of people will start to realize uh, they will live their lives differently. Uh, and, I'm not saying that it is bad for people that choose to be um, enslaved into the system that was created to block us from the narrative of our true nature of who we are and why we are here um, uh, on this earth, to experience life in the flesh from this universe, from the creator, the essence of the creator that created each and every one of us. Whatever you choose to believe it to be, I believe it to be uh, the essence of the universe, the all creator, the, 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 the sentient being that is there and embedded in everything that we see, touch, feel, say, and do. We are experiencing this life on this realm, on this plane, and we go through, we learn these life lessons in order to take it back and say, I learned this. This is something that I learned. This is something that I carry with me. This is something that I learned that has hurt me, or I have done that hurt somebody, or something that I did to stop myself from progressing. I experienced this happiness, sadness, all these different emotions. Um, do I want to go back and do this again? Do I want to make that right? Do I want to fix what I fucked up in this life to the point where I die and I'm like, I got to go back. I got to make this right. I got to fix it. I got to change this. A lot of people choose to do so. You have these experiences with these young children who come back and they say they live this life as this ancient person. They know these languages that they should not know, or they know about areas of the world or cultures of the world that they've never seen before. And I truly, truly believe that that is what it is, that these these people, these entities, spirits that are placed in these wombs to come back. I'll give you another instance. Dolores Cannon said that she was doing a hypnotherapy regression session on this woman who was dying. And she says, I had this cancer, I was dying, and I told them, you know, when I die, let me die. I do not want to come back. I don't want to deal with this no more. Just let me go. And the husband was like, baby, I love you. I couldn't live without you. But she was like, I fucking hated my husband. I just, I was done with his bullshit. I didn't have the means to divorce him, but my children were getting older and I was just done. I don't want to deal with it. And this death is like the, 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 the answer to my question. It's a better way out for me to just leave than to get a divorce and just make everything worse. So she's in the hospital. She dies. She passes on to the next plane, and these sentient beings, she describes what they look like, um, and she's like, they bring me in front of the council, and they're telling me that I have to go back, and she's like, no, I'm not going back. I'm fine. I don't want to experience this anymore. And she's like, there's nothing for me to go. I don't need to go back. And they said, well, what about your children? She said, oh, well, but they'll be here in no time, but because time to you when you're dead is, it's minutes. Your children will pass on and they will join you. She's like, my kids will be here. It's okay. They'll be fine. And she says that um, that the beings were telling her, well, do you understand how your death is going to affect your children? That their lives are not going to be the same as it would be if you were to go back and be able to see and help them through their life experience. She said that that hit her the hardest because she didn't think about that. And they were telling her, if you choose to not go back, you are going to make that decision that is going to affect not only you, because you're choosing to stay here, but you are choosing to affect your children's future because you are a big part of their life, and you are choosing to not be there to help them, to reassure them, to be there as their mother, to guide them through the life that is going to be harder without you being. And she said, shit, I got to go back. I got to go do this. So she comes back and she tells, because she's like, I remember everything. I could hear everything the doctors were saying. I could hear everything my husband was saying. I could hear everything my children were saying. She said she goes back because she told her husband, you got to promise me that when my time comes, whether it's 5 years, 4 months, 6 years, 20, 50, 80 years from now, when I die, you have to let me go. Do not bring me back. I'm done. I can't do this no more. And that to me is a big thing. It's because a lot of people say, well, what about people that do things to end their life, and they want to hit the reset button, so to say. They want to commit that act of ending their contract and meaning their life, and they think it's going to be the answer to their problems. She says, well, they can't, because they're going to end up having to come back and do it again anyway, because they haven't learned their life lesson. They have not fulfilled their contract. They ended their contract and made it null and void. So now they've got to rewrite another one and be able to come back and learn it all over again in a different form. Meaning they come back, if they're a man, they can come back as another woman, or if they're uh, if they're an Asian, they come back as somebody who is white. They live and experience life at different planes, like through all aspects, through everybody's eyes. They were saying something about persons who are born with disability. It's because that is something that they are going to have to learn. that they have to be able to know and experience that pain and suffering, or that joy and that ability to say, I will overcome this. I will push through this. Um, because they had experienced something, whether maybe it was that person's mother who was taking care of that child, and all they could think about was, God damn it, I just got to push through this shit every day. I wish it wasn't me. I wish I didn't have to deal with this. They weren't understanding that they were in that place for a reason to experience it. And now if they pass, they come back and they have to experience it through that person with disabilities life to see what was going on with that person and how that person was feeling. So if that makes sense to you, I mean, like I said, if you want to look up Dolores, fucking Amtrak coming into town picking up people I need. So anyway, really. So anyway, Um, and that's what she's saying when she talks about people learning life lessons. It's experiencing it through the eyes of somebody else. You know, if a person was a murderer and they killed people, they come back and they experience the life that they on the victim's end, or the victim's parents, or family member, or sibling, or whatever it is. You know, if you're a woman and you experience life and you were tragically, you know, taken out of life, and something happened to you, then you would come back and you either experience it as a child or one of your kids, or you come back and experience it as the member of that person, or through that person who would do something like that. It's just weird how things happen. It's like, you know, people that cause harm to other people, they have to experience what they do, that karmic situation, through the eyes in the life of the person or people that they've hurt or harmed, in order to come full circle and say, okay, I get what I did. I'm breaking that cycle. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm done with it. I've learned my lesson. Let me either stay here or let me come back and make it better. And that is truly, to me, eye opening, because it puts things on a whole new perspective, if that makes sense. Um, but it allows people that have experienced life after death, or have experienced near death situations, to be able to share their ideas or their thoughts of the things that they see or have experienced. 'Cause like I said, when I was, you know, talking to my daughter-in-law Bree, you know, she was like, you know, it was kind of like I seen my life being lived without my, you know, without me, through my family members' eyes, and I saw my, you know, what my life was growing up with me in their life. So it was kind of like good and bad, and it balanced each other out, but it wasn't her time. So she came back and she was just like blown away, because she was like, what in the hell? You know? And uh, like I said, I mean, talking to you people, you know, Elko Ellie, I'm pretty sure she's watching if you are. Um, and she's, you know, expressed that um, uh, emotional factor of uh, dealing with that near death experience. And a lot of people that do experience that are not the same people, because you have literally crossed that veil of death. You have literally went from seeing this supposed reality to really seeing the real nature of things on the true plane. Um, because you, the person that's in here, is experiencing that, not this flesh that we visually see us at right now. What you're seeing is not me, and what I'm seeing is not you. So it alters people. It alters people's minds. It alters their, you know, it affects them on a whole nother level, to where they are open to a lot more things that a lot of people that do not experience that, they just go throughout their life and they do their thing. They work their 9 to 5, you know, they get up and they go and live their lives, and they don't have two thoughts about it. But a lot of us, a lot of people who question the narrative, who question everything, that say there is something more to this. This shit just does not make sense. Um, everything that I've learned since I was growing up is this. It just seems like somebody's blowing smoke. you know, that's what it seems like, and it's like I want to get to the truth of this. I've got to know. I've got to look into this. So the seeking and the searching and looking for those answers and trying to find what is really behind a lot of stuff. Is it what is truth to you the same that is the truth to me? No. But I can honestly say this, that what I thought was true and what I thought was the reality, I don't see it that way anymore. I don't see the things that once blinded me to the true nature of what is here and what is really going on. I don't think that way. I don't see things that way. I choose to do better for not only for myself, but for my kids and my family, my friends, the people that I care about, that I love, and say, look, man, you know, it's all fun and games and it's all dandy, but please just take a look at this and realize this because I want to see, I want to be able to experience our friendship. I want to be able to say, man, like we did that, and we learned one hell of a crazy lesson and we got through this and we made it. And I know this is a touchy subject for a lot of people, and it's one of those things. Like I said, I mean, we've all lost family members. We've all lost somebody that we care about, and to be able to say, I mean, you go to a funeral, and before I started getting into this, I, you know, I would cry. It hurt me. It was pain that I felt because I can't be with that person. I can't see them. I can't feel them, touch them, and know, you know, they're not here anymore. But the reality of it is that they're gone. They have left this hell. They have left this world of pain and sorrow and torment and anguish and anger and hate and dealing with the stresses of this life. They have run their race. They have learned their lessons. Whether or not they choose to come back and make it happen again in whatever form, as my great grandson, as a distant relative, a distant ancestor from 40 years from now, whatever it is, if they choose to come back and relive lessons, so be it. But one day we will all be together again. I know that for a fact. They have not left us. They are not gone. They have just shed this mortal suit and are around us now. They're here. They've not gone anywhere. They've just changed energy forms. Energy does not die. It just changes shape. It just changes different matter. It just changes its form, whatever way it chooses to be. And uh, I really hope that that brings comfort to people to understand that death is nothing to be afraid of. Death is nothing to revere. The only thing that really troubles me, and I'm sure a lot of parents and a lot of fathers and mothers and anybody who has children, it it bothers me to think how my children will be affected once I am gone and the toll that it's going to take on them. But that's why I talk to them about it now. I want them to know that, listen, I love you. I've done everything I can to do for you. And if I was to leave this earth, I want you to know that I am still here. I will always be. You need to talk to me, call me. I will be here. There's something that I want to tell you that if you know that it's me, if you try and get a hold of me, it is a way for me to let you know that it is me and that only we will know. You know, do something like that. Make sure that they are aware that, it's not the end of who you are. I think that people have come to this notion that when somebody dies, that's it, that they're gone. And that's a good way to forget people. That's how a lot of, oh shit, that. I mean, you keep those people around, not just by speaking their name or talking about them. It is like a reverence to the existence that I got to be a part of their life and experience this plane with them in my life. And to be a part of that is something that should be cherished. It should not be a sad occasion. When I die, I want it to be a celebration. I want people to be happy. I want people to be able to say, um, I knew Raul, he was a funny mother mofo, that, we had a lot of good, crazy times. We laughed, we joked, we had serious conversations. And for the people that I've hurt in my life, if I've ever done wrong to you, God forgive me for anything that I've said, done, may have spoke, may have caused in their lives, that I will have to re- revisit that and fix that in my next go round. But I want everybody to understand that this life is a learning experience. It's why I don't judge people. I don't condemn people for the things that they do, because they are who they are because they're learning. They may have not progressed past that in their life. So I can't sit here and judge them because there's things that I've done in my life. And going back to the Bible narrative, Jesus said, love your neighbors as you would have them love you. And people see these things as for me, I believe that Jesus was trying to make people understand the true nature of life, who we are on this plane, the reality, not a religious reality, because you got to understand something. Jesus was not religious. Jesus fought the religious establishment. I mean, the man went into the temple and tossed tables around and was whipping people in the church and was telling them, damn you for what you're doing. You are the true enemies of the Father. And I think that is what people need to break free from, is that we have to understand, get back to the root of who we are as human beings, and accept our our mortality in this flesh, this creation that has been bestowed upon us to experience this life, and and take it and say, I've done this to myself. These were my choices. The devil didn't make me do it. The devil didn't. Yes, there are things that come into your life, but you ultimately choose your karmic destiny. You ultimately choose the things that you determine in your life to either become good or bad. So the choice of free will, if that's what you want to call it, is on us. That is what has been placed on us as humans in this reality that we have been placed in, to experience and make those choices. So that way, if we make it to that afterlife, once we do, then we have to live with those decisions that we've made and see it not only through our eyes, what we did, but through those that we caused the pain and suffering and the sorrow, and cause things to befall on other people by the bad choices that we did. So I wish that everybody would realize that this is a learning lesson. I believe that where we are now, could either be our hell or it can be our heaven. We can either choose to live this life and progress through it and ultimately rise above those bad decisions that we may have made in our past lives and achieve that goal of fighting that good fight, running that good race, and saying, I've done everything I could to do what I can to ultimately be at peace with my life because of the decisions that I made. And if we don't, it's okay. It's all right. You can come back and make it right. I do not believe that there is a damnation. I do not believe that there is an ultimate lake of fire. I do not believe that a creator that is omnipotent, that would bless us with this experience to be able to live this life would ultimately damn his creation because we choose to be I didn't choose to be born in sin. I didn't choose to be placed in this. I am doing the best that I can to live this life according to what I feel is the right thing because of the guidance that I have had in my life. And if I choose to do things that are wrong, that is on me. That does not fall on anybody else. People, I think, need to stop placing the buck on these outside entities and start looking inside and saying, I did this. I have to answer for this. Because you can go to church on Sunday and ask for forgiveness, but I bet your ass is going to be right back out there doing the same thing over again. That is not making choices. That is just passing it off to put a band aid on something that needs to be internally fixed. It is something that needs to be dealt with in here. And we all have to deal with that. And I think that the fear of dying is why that was placed there, because it causes people to place that blame on the outside things rather than putting it eternally and owning up to it and realizing that when we die and we pass on to the next life, we are ultimately going to have to deal with it. We have to deal with it and say, I need to come back. I need to fix what is going on. I need to make this right. So, as I said, um, I thank everybody for coming along on this podcast, on this episode of discussing life after death and why it is that we have been placed in this fear analogy of fearing death and being so disconnected from the reality of that we have to look at everything here as if it was something that we need to uh, revere and oh man, my house, my car, my possessions, and I have to. We live this life day in, day out, trying to get somewhere that is ultimately never going to lead to anything but old age, bad health, bad a lifestyle of regret, where we need to start looking at what really truly matters in life, which is the progression of our souls, progression of us eternally for ourselves, for our kids, for our family members, for the people that love us, that we love, and saying, I've done everything I could. I've made it either better or I've done something to create that positive outlook for not only myself, but for my family, my children, and my friends. And um, I hope that everybody can look at this or look into these things with whatever I'm talking about on the podcast, because it is something that will ultimately cause anybody who watches this or sees it think, plant that seed and think, man, there might be something to this, or I felt like this, or I've always thought about, I'm not alone. I'm not the only person that thinks like this. You are not alone. Humanity is part of one entity. That is scientifically proven. We are all connected, all of us, through the essence of the universe. Because ultimately, when we die, we pass on to this life, we all transcend. All men, all creation is going to have to face death one way or another. We can't escape it. We cannot escape it. It's going to come for us all. The only thing that separates us or separates those that choose to accept it and face it full on, and those who choose to bow on their knees and fear it and not stand up and walk that life, that path that is placed before them with their heads held up high and reverence and say, I am going to make this happen. I am going to choose my destiny. I am going to progress myself every day to reach that end goal that I need. Is it going to be a trial? Yes, it is. Is it going to be painful? It probably is going to. Damn, you can guarantee it. Are obstacles going to come in my way? Yes. But the choices that I make ultimately will lie with me. The devil is not making me choose bad. The devil is not making me. The temptation is there because it is my karmic lesson. I have to get over those things. I have to break those ancestral chains and progress myself. And it's like Jesus in the wilderness, 40 days. Could he have turned that bread, those stones into bread? Hell yes, he could have. You know what I mean? Could he have made a spring of water come out of the ground and drank from it? Yes. But ultimately, he chose to pass that test. And that is what the Egyptians call, the Essenes call. It is, it is a rite of passage that all knowledge seekers had to go through. And I'm throwing this out there because a lot of people don't believe this, or they don't do their research. Like I said, what Jesus was going through was a rite of passage that thousands of years, those who were given that knowledge of life after death, of immortality, of the knowledge and the wisdom that was passed down since the beginning of mankind from those who created it. He was doing exactly what they were done. He was given the knowledge, which is why it says that in the books that were discarded from the Bible, that Jesus, if you look at it, when they left, Joseph and Mary left Jerusalem, where did they go? Because they couldn't go home. They went to They went to Egypt. They fled to Egypt. Jesus was raised in Egypt. So, like I said, that's just another tidbit of knowledge that a lot of people don't look into. They don't realize it. They don't want to because it's hidden from us. And if you break down the text of what the Bible is saying, everything that I am speaking about is literally. It is just distorted to make it seem one way, but when you take it out and you break it down and you add it or you bring it in from these ancient texts, it is actually derived from them. There is nothing different or separate from it. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed this. I hope that this has been a blessing to you, just as it is for me to be able to bring this to you guys, to all of you. And I appreciate you. Many blessings to you all. If you haven't, subscribe, hit the like button, hit the channel, YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, X. Go on there, show your love, show your support. And if you want some merch, hit me up. Let me know what you would want. I got hats, shirts, sweaters. Let me know your size in the link, and I will get that started. I'll let you know how much it is going to be. Let me know what you need, how much you need it. 2 hats, 2 shirts, whatever. What color you would like, and I will get that out to you. Let me know what you want, and I will give you the prices on it and get that out to you. But I appreciate you all, and I will talk to you guys soon. You guys have a great, wonderful weekend. Be safe out there. I love you all. You guys take care, and remember, question everything. Do not take what people tell you on a word of salt. Do your own research. Do your own due diligence. Go out there and find the truth and become a seeker yourself. Just like it took me a while, but hey, I'm learning new things all the time. But we can do this together. You're not alone. So I'll see you guys next week. And if you need to, hit me up on the pages. I'll talk to you later. Have a good one.